summer 2008. After visiting some Vietnamese islands in the southern area of the so-called South China Sea, several risks on deck were dropped down into the oceans by the delegation of Vietnamese Navy. In commemoration of 64 fallen Vietnamese sailors and officers, such ceremony has been organized since a naval battle took place on March 14, 1988 between the Chinese and Vietnamese Navy. While casting anchor by a former battlefield, this together with cigarettes, chewing gums and something simple that is habitual for every soldier in the past were falling in turn into the water. And then some of them were torn. Not only the veterans that participated in the deafening battle 20 years ago, but also the young sailors. This lies every ending of such events. In remembering the last moments with the fallen, the bloody memories of the comrades who used their bodies hand in hand to build the world to protect motherland territory were appearing gradually. In fact, this naval battle lasted for some hours as 3 reefs nearby the islands called Sinkhove. This is one of the biggest islands among the Spratly Islands. In the early months of 1988, the Chinese Navy has landed troops on 5 reefs and atolls that belong to the area of Spratly Islands. It's located at a distance of over 800 km far from the undermost Chinese coast at Hainan Island and rightly belong to Vietnam for historical reasons. The new occupied reefs by China lie quite near the last islands of which Vietnam was being in possession. The Vietnamese Navy sent various supplies and equipment to 6 other reefs and atolls. Vietnam successfully gained control of them and prevented the Chinese Navy from extending the occupied zone into the other islands. In early March, the High Command of Vietnamese Navy decided to take control over another 3 reefs because they were still being fallow, and form an open chain reefs around Sinkhove Island that were in control of Vietnam. On March 13th, in late evening, 3 transport ships of Vietnam arrived in time at those reefs and set up the flags to present Vietnam's sovereignty over them. However, some hours after the Vietnamese transport ship had reached the target, 4 large Chinese warships got close to the Vietnamese ships and switched on the warning loudspeaker. The Chinese were ordered to take an oath before they floated motorboats that carries many heavy armed marines. They are taught, like all the others, that the ocean area of Spratly Islands with more than 200 islands, reefs and atolls belongs to China. Despite stress from Chinese warships, the Vietnamese transport ships patiently kept dropping anchor beside the reefs. They were not powerful enough to confront directly the Chinese and didn't advocate escalating the conflict. The strain was continued. In early morning, the Chinese mobilized more battleships and also more floated motorboats. They caused more provocations for the battle breaking out. Standing there, on which the water level covers the half of their bodies, the Vietnamese sailors set up commanding positions along edge of the reefs to lay the defending lines and try to prevent the enemy from advancing forwards. And finally, just because the Vietnamese had refused to withdraw the troops, the Chinese then used warships for firing with 37mm guns directly on the unarmed and light armed Vietnamese sailors, who were not able to attack them from their defending position on the reefs. They also fired fiercely with 100mm guns on the 3 Vietnamese transport ships and seriously damaged them, until 2 of them sank. 64 Vietnamese sailors and officers lost their lives. Among them were only 3 corpses were found after the end of the battle. 61 others were still missing and repeatedly dead. Eventually, Vietnam defended successfully sovereignty over 2 reefs on that day. China has occupied the other one since that incident. Nowadays, those standing threats and provocation from the other side there, smiling atmosphere and the living standards of Vietnamese sailors and civilians in Spratly Islands are improving gradually. Vietnam reaffirms more and more the sovereignty over Spratly Islands. In the middle of nowhere, over 300 kilometers far from Vietnam coast, they stand together, united together as one to protect ocean territory of the motherland.